welcome back, everybody, to another episode of EQ'IN It, just a show where we talk about customizing our relationships. Once again, this is E. Say
How
hello.
y'all doing?
And I'm Q. And once again, we're just here to help everybody get better outcomes out of their relationships. Once again, for those who don't know, we have been married for 15 and a half years, 16 in on July 4th, Lord willing. But once again, we're not gurus or anything, but we're just discussing things that happen in marriages, some things we've experienced, some things we've seen in other marriages. And so, since a lot of people are having issues with relationships and marriages, and there's not really a guideline to it, just some things that may help you have better outcomes with the person that you're with. And so, with that said, we also invite you all to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We're on the Facebook, the EQ'IN It page. Showing it from our personal page. We are at 60 likes. We do need to get to 100 because I want to start streaming this directly from the EQ'IN It page, and from the software I'm using, I need 100 likes. So for those who have liked, we appreciate it. Just need 40 more likes. So if y'all can help us with that, we appreciate it. And also, we start the YouTube channel. So if you can go like and subscribe there too. We're trying to build up these channels at the same time. But also subscribe, share, and also comment. So we invite you to comment about some things you've experienced, some things you may want us to talk about, or your feeling about the topics being discussed tonight. And so tonight we will be talking about assumptions and misunderstandings. And this is a lot of things that a lot of people go through, especially when you're trying to get to know someone or been in a relationship a long time. That some things you may not quite understand how somebody jokes, the things they say, the things they feel, and so if we're not careful and not paying attention to these things, you can disrupt your relationship and could ultimately bring it to an end. E, how you feel about that?
I would agree. I think it too. You have to be what's the word? Aware of kind of how, like you said, your person may joke around or things that they may say, and not take everything so personal or always be on the offensive, or get offended by things they may say or do. When it comes to assumptions, you may assume certain things and that's not really what they meant to say or meant to do. And I think, again, we mentioned it before, that's where you have to question, like you have to ask, because they might have said or did something, or you assume because they didn't do this that meant this, but you don't know unless you ask them for clarification. Because again, you got to remember, we don't all think the same, we don't all view things the same. We're two different people coming together, so we can't just automatically assume, oh, they meant this, or he meant that, or she meant this. We need to ask, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Or I noticed you did this, or you said that, and I think that would kind of help a lot of that. But it's easy to assume. It's easy to assume rather than get clarification. That's normally, yeah, it's easier to do that instead of saying, you know what, why are you da da da, especially if you're upset. If you're upset, you're not trying to get clarification, you're not trying to ask questions, you're just going to go by what either you saw or what you heard somebody say. So I think you definitely have to communicate, and it's easy to assume and it's easy to have misunderstandings. So we can't automatically be like, oh, they meant such and such, when really it could have just been a misunderstanding, or they might have been doing something in the moment to where it came off one way. But again, we got to ask questions, y'all. We got to ask questions. So it's easy to assume and it's easy to have misunderstandings, but how are you going to handle them so you can move forward in a positive way? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I believe so too. Part of what we said, I know we touched on a lot of this stuff a little bit through our previous episodes, but I'm a big believer in studying your spouse or studying the person that you're with, because
Get to know your person.
too many things get taken out of context because you don't know how somebody jokes. Like, you don't know when they're joking or not. You don't know when they're serious or not. Um, Actions you have, like if you're breathing hard, are we just playing, or is it something they're feeling, or if they're even able to
Body
tell you how they're feeling. And so,
language.
and a lot of people don't care about that because what you think is what you think, and you don't really want understanding. You just want to be proven right. And so,
Mm,
and a lot of people also want to get to a point where they want other people to adjust to their feelings, but they don't think that they need to adjust to the other person's. So you need
mm,
to keep me out, protect me from my insecurities or nurture my insecurities, but I don't have to do the same thing for you. It's a misunderstanding.
mm.
You shouldn't just do things that make me upset. You should just do things I like instead of trying to
Right.
understand the
Mhm,
person that you're with.
mhm,
And so
right.
brings us to one
Mhm.
of these things I found earlier. If you read it, says, "You said something, I heard something else. I did something, you inferred something else. You meant something, I interpreted something else. This else is guilty of killing so many relationships." So, E, how you feel about it?
That's good. No, that's good. I like the way they brought that out to basically in that first one, you said something, basically meaning you said something, but I heard something totally different than what you said. And that goes with the whole misunderstanding. But that's when you have to come back and be like, wait a minute, what did you say? Or maybe I misunderstood or I didn't hear you correctly. Get the clarification because that's easy to take it out of context or think that they said something or they meant. This is what I hear a lot of times. Well, you meant this, but that's not what I said. So listening to hear what the person is saying, not to try to see, trying to read between, you know what I mean? Like, don't be trying to read between the lines of what it could be. Listen to what they said. If they said, go by what they said. Don't try to interpret what you think. And if you unsure, just ask. Because all of this basically saying I said one thing, but you heard something else, or I meant something, but you interpreted it to be something else. So then what's that saying? That's the other person's perception. And what we have to understand is we can't control the perception of somebody else. So say we're having dialogue, we're having a conversation, something might have taken place and we're discussing it. You could be cool, calm, and collect, or you may, breathe a certain way or look a certain way, and then they may be like, "Well, you irritated, you upset." You like, no, just in that moment, maybe I took it. You know what I mean? I took a deep breath, or whatever the case may be. But again, we can't control perception, what's perceived, because I can say something, and then you may think in your mind, well, why they said it like that? Or they upset? Or they mad? No, I was just telling you how I was feeling in that moment. So I think we have to be aware of those things too. But to go back to what Q was saying, you definitely have to try your best to learn your person. Try to get an understanding of them and where they're coming from so that it's not easily misinterpreted. Every now and then there may be, something depending on how your emotions are. But if you're learning your person and kind of getting an idea of their body language and how they do and kind of, how they joke and stuff, there won't be as many misunderstandings and assumptions. What do you think about that body language?
Yeah, body. A lot of people don't understand how their body language comes off. You can speak volumes by the way you shrug down, or even not just body language, even
Mm-hmm.
like the way you look. Certain expressions you have on your
Yeah.
face is telling.
Mm-hmm. Person.
You know,
Yeah.
because you can look like you disinterested. You can look like you want to kill somebody. It's just different things, and you
Mm-hmm.
never know.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like rolling your eyes at stuff. Like what was that for?
Right.
But
Yeah.
like I say, it takes time to not only understand that, but realize when you're doing it yourself. So, like
Mm-hmm.
me, like if I know with us, you can tell if I'm thinking about something because I have a certain look on my face. And so you'll always
Mm-hmm.
ask me, say, what you thinking about? I see them gears turning up there. I don't might not pay attention to it, but she sees it. So, I'm like, nah, nothing too serious, but I might be thinking about something, or I might just saw something and I'm
Yeah,
just
you do.
focusing on it. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that comes from time of watching, paying attention to how they react in situations and things like that, to where if you have a better understanding, you don't get upset over little things, and you don't make turn big things into a lot of drama. I'm saying
Right.
so.
That's true.
So it brings us to this one. We make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. So, E, what you think about it?
That's a good one right there. You make an assumption, we misunderstand, take it personally. Yeah, I think because the big the biggest part of it is the assuming. So when we assume, we really don't know what's going on, but we're assuming that hey, this is what it was. We're making a basically, I won't say a prediction, but we're making it. We don't have any facts really. Let's put it like that. We really don't know. So we're assuming this is what you meant. We're assuming this is what you said when you did that. So it's a big misunderstanding, and then now we're upset. We done got in our feelings. We done took it personal, and it's just a whole. We done it done went left real fast, and so that's easy to happen when when the assumptions come in and misunderstanding, and then the what it is though I believe is we don't take the time in those moments to try to clarify. Because you see in that statement right there, as y'all can see, we went from a misunderstanding. Now we all in our feelings, upset. We done took it personal, and now we finna run with it. That's where the rest of the drama and everything comes from. But in that moment where we first assumed, and then the misunderstanding we could stop it right there and go ahead and get clarification before it goes too far. But that doesn't often happen. We tend to run with the assumption and the misunderstanding because now we done formulated this whole thing in our head and we finna take off. Like we just finna go, and I think that's the worst thing about assuming. You tend to add misunderstanding assumptions. You tend to add stuff because you start to think about it, you start dwelling on it, and then you like, well, they did this, they said that. Well, now what they doing? Da, da, da. And you just run. Your mind just starts to run rapid with more assumptions and more things that aren't factual or true, where you can just stop yourself and be like, hold up, what'd you say? Or what'd you mean by that? Can you help me understand what you just said? And kind of take your emotions out of it. That's also, we also know when our emotions get involved, we say and do stuff that we can't take back. So if we kind of check ourselves in that moment to be like, you know what, maybe they didn't mean it quite the way I took it. Maybe that's not what exactly they meant to say. Let me ask. Is that what you meant? I mean, I misunderstood. Don't get upset because by the time you don't got upset, that's it. Like you're not thinking logically at this point. You just mad. So I think if we can catch ourselves in those moments where either we're having conversations or we start to think these things, if we can just get clarity in that moment, I think it would cut off us going into a whole bigger situation, and now we're bringing up old stuff, and now we just everything coming out from one misunderstanding, and that's all it takes is one misunderstanding, and then not being willing to get the clarification. I think we always have to try to get clarification when there's some type of discord or we feeling like something ain't quite right based on what we just talked about or what somebody said. Get the clarification, y'all. Take the time to be like, let me step back, let me remove my emotions and get a better understanding of what was meant. Because how are you going to do that unless you ask the person, well, what do you mean when you said such and such? Because I guarantee you they didn't hear it the way you heard it. What do you think about that? Getting clarification.
I think it's also helpful because a lot of times there are people who have misunderstandings based on previous relationships that they had. And so now they
Mm-hmm.
bring that into their current relationships as well. The last person I was with, they thought this of me, or they used to say this about
Mm-hmm.
me, or they did this about me. But you got to realize you're in a new relationship. So
Yeah.
hopefully you're not dating the same person with the same face, because that seems to be a trend among a lot of
Right.
people. But
Yeah.
you can't,
Carry it
like,
over.
that's why I say you have to learn, because I'm not them. They're not them.
No.
So you can't keep
True.
holding past mistakes over their head. We do that too much about, we make people pay for other people's mistakes. Don't think I have the same mindset they do. Like if I say something, especially if I've never done that to you, and one thing comes off,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to take it the wrong way because I've never treated you like that. And a lot of people have a
Right.
hard time getting out of that. Well, it happened before, and you're just like everybody else.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
said, you're your
Right.
own. They're their own person. They're not
Right.
here to treat you the same, unless that's just the kind of treatment you're looking for. But that's what I say. You have to
Right.
get time to understand. Like, hey, when I say this to you, I'm not trying to put you down or demean you. I'm joking with you. Or if I say this, I'm not serious. Like we talk junk all the time, but that's because we got almost what 19 years together, 19, 20 years. And so we
That's
talk
when
junk. So I do it all the time. She might tell me
he
something.
always talks.
I'd be like, and you better had, or it better be. She'd be like, who you
I'm like,
talking
what?
to? But we're joking. But see, I can't do that with
Yeah,
somebody else because they'll take if we ain't spent no time together. That's serious. You
yeah.
getting offended, and I'm joking because, like I said, I've never shown that before. So we just talk junk because most people's in relationship they're gonna talk junk because that's what you do. But you have to have an
Right.
understanding of
No,
that person, their mindset, and how they treat you to where they're not
that's,
serious. He's just talking mess, and you should, or she's
mm-hmm.
just talking mess. But you should have a better understanding of each other to know when there is a difference. Because, like I said, if that's not the
Mm-hmm.
normal treatment, then you hear like, "Who you talking to?" Or you tell a joke with a smile or a wink or something to let them know that it's a joke. That I
Right.
don't treat. We should have been together long enough to know to where I show you I think more of you than that, but I ain't gonna talk junk to you because in all relationships we all like it when we talk junk to each other. So most people do, most people don't,
Yeah.
unless you're just
Right.
some super uptight person and
Yeah.
you can't take a joke. But other than that, like I said, it all comes with time and comes with experience.
It
But like I
does.
said, it also comes with wanting to know your partner or your spouse better. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Mm-hmm.
everybody has that desire because everybody doesn't think they need to have that skill in a relationship. And
Hmm.
so,
That's good right there. I wanted before you move on, Q. I wanted to go back to when you were talking about past relationships and bringing those experiences over to the new relationship, and then assuming that the other person is gonna treat you the same or react the same or whatever the case may be. I think it does require an individual to heal or allow themselves some type of healing to take place before they move on, because of that reason, because you don't want to hold somebody else to, I don't want to say a standard, but hold something against somebody else that somebody else did to you previously, especially knowing that this is not the same individual. However, if you're still dealing, I don't want to say trauma, but if you're still dealing with the effects from that previous relationship or situation, you're going to have some type of, I don't say reservation, or there's gonna be a little bit of, you're gonna try your best not to prejudge it and be like, oh, that's the same, he treating me the same or she treating me the same. But it's just, I would hope you'd be able to heal a little bit or get yourself in a place where you're open to, a new relationship, but also heal a little bit or get yourself in a place where you're open to, a new relationship, but also heal a little bit. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know why I was stopped. But yeah, so allow healing to take place so you can be open and there's not a lot of assumptions taking place in the new relationship.
yep, I agree. Okay, let's move on to the
So
next.
that's what you have to do. But yeah, so I mean at the end of the day, I think it's important to be mindful of the assumptions and the misunderstandings that take place in relationships, and be open to communicate and dialogue so it doesn't progress and it doesn't turn into something bigger than what it started out to be, because it's easy to kind of let it fester and build to something um unnecessarily that's unnecessary, basically off of a misunderstanding. And it's easy to clear those up if you just ask a question. I think it's easier to clarify or to clear up misunderstandings or assumptions just by asking a couple questions to better understand. I wanted to pose a question to you or to the group as y'all come and y'all watch later on. Why do y'all think it's easier to assume? Like, why do you think it's so easy to assume? Like, if I say something to you, why is it always so easy to go possibly to the negative or to assume that the worst out of something?
Well, I think because we lean on our own understanding a lot, and also like past experiences too. Like say, well,
Mm,
I don't like the way that sounds, so it could be nothing, but it could also rely on what somebody else told you or something you
mm,
heard on another podcast or something that kind of shapes your thinking and changes the way you would feel about that situation to where, well, if they doing this, then it must be something wrong or it must be this, it must be
right.
that. And also there's a lot of bad advice out here too that people take from people based on their feelings, not based on them getting that understanding and giving you a mature look and aspect on it. And so that's why a lot of
Mm,
people go off the deep end a lot instead of just saying we could have solved this with a conversation, but it's easier to show out than conversate. And a lot of people
mm.
are more act off an impulse with their emotions, other
Nope.
than sit down, let
Nope.
it swirl around their head for a little bit to say, "All right, what did you mean by that?" No, we'll go off first, and then maybe we'll have a conversation where we'll try to be like, "I didn't mean it like that," and you try to explain yourself, and like, "Why didn't you just ask me?" And some people just it's easier for them to do because they've been doing it their whole life.
Yeah, that's
So
true. And I think too is that's good where you said that as far as going off of emotions, and it's easier to jump to something than to kind of step back and try to dialogue to figure out really what was being said. And I think the key though in that is the whole emotion piece. Your emotions will cause you to say and do things that you might not normally do if you were thinking level headed. Once your emotions get in it, that's kind of, you're not thinking clearly once you get emotional and you fired up and you upset. That's really not the time that you're trying to think logically. It's usually after you done blew up or said some things or reacted. Now you done calm down. Now you can kind of be like, man, I probably should have did it like that. So I think some in those moments we got to try to do self check if we can, to catch ourselves before we, or just step back, take a deep breath, step back, remove yourself from the situation, whatever you need to do to bring yourself back in some sense of being level headed so you can have a conversation. Because if you're upset, your assumptions are running wild, you're misunderstood, or you feel like they're not listening or whatever. And so you're not really trying to hear much. But if you can kind of step away from the situation, calm down a little bit, then maybe you can actually have a conversation for clarification. But in that moment where you're upset and frustrated, it's not, you're not gonna get there. So
yep. And moving to number three, the assumptions we make about what other people think, feel, want, and believe are barriers to seeing and feeling who they really are. Therefore, also a barrier to real intimacy in that relationship. So, E, what do you think about that?
I gotta read that one again. Hold up. The assumptions we make about what other people think, feel, want, and believe are barriers to seeing and feeling who they really are. Therefore, also a barrier to real intimacy in that relationship. That's good. I would agree with that because you can't assume what another person is thinking, feeling, wants. You can't assume, like, those are things you can't assume. I mean, you can, but it's not effective. So those are the things you would have to actually ask somebody. How are you, you know what I mean? How are you thinking about such and such? Or how do you feel? What is it that you want? What do you believe about, you know what I'm saying? So if you're not actually asking the individual to get a better understanding so that you know, and you're assuming what they think or what they feel, that's already going to cause issues because you're trying to, you're putting your thoughts or your interpretation of what they think and feel on them based on what you think. That's not going to work. Because I may be thinking about, trying to get, I don't know, what the future, this and that, or work or something, but you thinking all I want to do is hang out and not be at home. And every time I go somewhere, I'm doing something. But that's not what I'm thinking about. But if you don't really know and you've never really asked me, that's going to cause issues right there. And then I'm not really going to want to be close or really talking because every time, we come around each other, it's always saying something that's opposite of what I'm actually doing or thinking. So yeah, you can't assume what the other person is feeling, thinking, or wants or believes. You should ask to get that to know for sure. And granted, things change, but don't go into the relationship always assuming what the person wants, likes, feels, or believes. And it does come with getting to know them. After you know them for a while, then okay, you might have an idea of how they feel about certain things, the things they desire, what they want out of life. But initially going into something, don't assume that you know what another person is thinking, feeling, or want without you asking. What do you think about that statement?
Well, yes, because that's like our message says up here. It's a barrier to real intimacy. So it keeps you from being closer to somebody because, like I said, you don't have a true understanding of who they are. And
Mm,
like I said, I don't want to go off what I think about you. I want to go off what I know about you. And you only really get to know people. Well, one, they have to be willing to open themselves up to get you to know them, or to the deeper things. But there's a lot you can get from observations and things. Well, we've been talking about um, who they are, get a sense of what they stand for, what they believe in, what they rather do versus what they want to do. You know, those
mm,
things that we don't normally pick up on because we're so wrapped up in ourselves. But in order for that relationship to grow, like I said, you have to get out of your own head and pay attention to what this other person's saying and doing so that way you get that greater understanding. And and just like with conversations, if they're explaining to you how they feel, so many people are so ready to respond other than listening to what that person's saying. And so,
mm,
like I say, you don't. If I'm telling you this is what I like or this is what I don't like, and you're more interested in defending yourself and telling me why I should like it and that I'm blowing this whole thing out of proportion. So, how do we get a better understanding? How do you make this to where this is something that doesn't happen again, other than something that we keep having the same issue over and over again because we're not taking that time to pay attention to the details and listen to what people are telling us, other than formulating in our own mind about, well, this is how I
mm,
feel, and that's just it. Well, we're not going to get anywhere with
mm.
that because if you're not trying to hear me
Nope.
and you just think what you want to think, then we probably not going to make it too much longer. So,
Yeah. No, that's good because you have to listen to hear and not listen to respond. And I think most of the time, like you said, people are more, I guess, reactive, or they want to try to defend whatever the person may be saying instead of just listening and hearing them out. Especially if someone is expressing. This is what I wanted to get to too. Especially if somebody's expressing how they're feeling about something, y'all make sure y'all listening to hear and not to necessarily respond to what it is, because at that moment, like we were talking about how somebody may feel or what they may want, they're expressing them, you know what I mean, like they're really trying to express themselves and how they're feeling. One, don't discard it, but two, actually listen to try to understand, not to be like, well, I did this. Nope, that's not the time to do that. So I think it is necessary to be willing to just listen. Like I think that's a big part of it too. When assumptions and misunderstandings happen, be willing to hear the other person out. You don't have to really, you know what I'm saying, try to defend, jump in and say nothing. Just listen to what it is that they meant by what they said. Because by this time you probably already took it another way, or it didn't come off right to you, or whatever the case may be. But if you're able to just listen, take a moment to hear them out, see what it was that they actually said, you can get a better understanding even in that. If we just take the time to listen and understand, oh, this is where you was coming from. Okay, my bad. I didn't quite hear it that way. And then that's why I reacted the way I did. But if you listen to them and actually try to hear and understand, you'll be like, okay, you didn't mean it that way. So it definitely takes being a little more attentive in those moments. And I think we said earlier, being able to ask those questions to get clarification and just being open, y'all. Be open to, because you're going to have miscommunications. You're going to have disagreement. You're not always going to agree, but be willing to come after you calm down. Be willing to come and discuss it and to resolve it or to get a better understanding of what took place. Don't allow those things to escalate to where now we done took it too far, or now we're not talking, or we don't want to deal with each other because either we're holding on to something or we never express. Don't allow things to fester, because I think assumptions and misunderstandings lead to longer disagreements and longer things that shouldn't be if we can resolve it earlier on, if that makes sense. So try not to let things fester when we come across assumptions and misunderstandings. Address it. If you can address it in that moment, great. If not, you might have to step back and come back to it, but definitely come back to it and get an understanding of what the other person meant by what was said, especially if it was interpreted wrong. Get an understanding. Don't go away assuming the worst or assuming they meant something that they really didn't mean. And if you don't bring it up, they're not going to know that you know what I'm saying, that you took it the way you took it. So I would rather you say something to them and be like, well, is this what you meant? Because when you said it, it kind of made me feel this, that, or whatever. But if you don't bring it up, they're never going to know that you took it however you took it, or you heard it the way you heard it, and that might not even have been how they meant for it to come across. So be willing, y'all, to communicate, ask those questions, get clarification, so that the assumptions and misunderstandings don't fester.
All right. And I know this is pretty small, but just some examples of miscommunication. So I'll read these off. Celebration preferences, assumed weekend plans, emotional availability mismatch, unshared financial
Hmm.
goals, misinterpreted tone and text. Now that's a big one right there. Unvoiced
Yeah.
expectations on holidays, assumed household responsibilities. Now, a lot of people, we touched on that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Unspoken
Hmm.
feelings of neglect, divergent parenting approaches, misaligned career aspirations, uncommunicated stressors, different love languages, misunderstandings about priorities, unshared future expectations, assumptions about personal space, and technology usage discrepancy. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't discuss in relationships that we don't think are issues until they become issues. So, this is just an example of some things that you may want to sit down and talk about if y'all haven't, because it's easier. Well, I'll say not easier. I'll say it's better to get those things early, get them out the way early. So that way, just in case we run into them late, we can say, hey, babe, we didn't discuss this already. And this is, we talked about it. And so this isn't something new, because there's a lot of things that
Hmm.
come up that, well, we're so lovey dovey and not coming up for air because we getting all this loving and stuff in and going through daily life, that when it comes up, now it's a big issue because we never thought it was something that needed to be discussed. We assumed it was something that you should know, and
Right.
everybody doesn't know because everybody doesn't have the same experiences. So that's why I would say talk about these things. When you sit down, have a discussion about it to see how the other person feels about it. So you know where they're coming from, you understand it, y'all come to an agreement, and everything will run a lot smoother if you do that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, you have a great point with that. Um, because there are a lot of things on there that they mentioned that most people don't even talk about up front. And like you said, it doesn't come up till later. However, I do believe, and I think all of it really comes back, and we talked about this, I think, early on in one of our episodes. The whole thing, idea of communication. Like, communication is big in any aspect of relationship, whether you're just starting out, in the middle, y'all been together for a while, marriage, whatever. Communication is big, and it's easily misinterpreted because we don't all communicate the same. Because you have your verbal communication, you have your nonverbal communication. So it's a lot of things you're trying to pay attention to. But I do think, like you said, it is key to discuss some of those things that may come up. I know they talk about financial goals, expectations, holidays, assuming household roles, stuff like that. And then unspoken feelings of neglect. If you're feeling some type of way, you have to be able to express that. Don't hold it in. Don't wait. Don't be like, well, they should know and all this. No, my husband says this all the time. Closed mouth don't get fed. So you have to communicate how you're feeling. We can't assume that they know, he, she knows if you don't say anything. Because they could think all is well and you sitting over here miserable and mad because you feel like you ain't getting no time. But how would they know if you don't say anything? So please, 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 y'all, communicate when you feeling like something is not right, or you feeling like you not getting your time, or whatever the case may be. Because I was talking about unspoken feelings of neglect. But if you feeling like something is missing, or y'all not getting that one on one, say something. Please don't go around quiet and then you got that what's the word? Oh, it's just on top of my tongue. So you sitting out there quiet, and now you being all uptight and mad, and they don't even know why you upset. But you said, oh, well, they should know that. They don't know, because just a few minutes ago you was all right, but then you thought about it, and then you got yourself upset again. So we just have to be mindful of those things. But the big part of it is communicating. You have to be able to articulate these things, and most of the time, if you can, try to talk about them up front so that you can get a better understanding. And so, like you said, it doesn't blow up on you later on because it was something you didn't discuss. So if you're able to bring up some of those topics, you're starting out dating, or however long you may have been with your significant other, talk about some of those things. So then it's not such a shock when it comes up, because you don't want that. If you can head that off, do so. So those are some good examples that they brought out in that right there.
Okay, and do a last one. Let's normalize asking questions for clarity instead of moving based on the story you've created in your mind, which
Ooh,
may
that's big.
or may not be true. Clarify preserves relationships. And so, we've been saying this whole time, get clarity. The Bible tells us that in all our getting, get understanding. So it's better for you to
Yeah.
stop and get some understanding than you to go off of your own ideas, your own preconceived notions, and be totally wrong and mess up a situation or say something that you can't take back. So it's always better to get information first, get clarity on what they meant, what they said, or what they're doing, then let it process it, then respond in kind. Because a whole lot of people have gone off, like I said, gone off on the deep end and done some things to where they wish they didn't said that, they wish they never did this, or you wish and went out and did some action instead of getting some clarity based on what you thought it was, and then you just created an even worse situation than what it would have been if you just would have asked some questions or took some time to calm down and come back and have a discussion about it.
No, that whole statement that's big right there. Cause your thoughts in your mind will run away. Like, you can start thinking all kind of stuff that you made up, and like you said earlier, based on stuff that's happened to you before, or even things that maybe have taken place in y'all's relationship, and you really haven't let it go or gotten over it. Now something else has happened. Now your mind is just running away. So if you're able to get clarification, get it, and get it sooner than later. Because what you don't want to do is allow that story in your head to continue to build. And every time something happens, now you still playing that story. Now you done added some, you know what I mean? Now you're assuming you out here doing stuff that you're not even doing. And this was what, a few weeks ago or a month or whatever ago, but you still running that same story. So every time something happened, here we go. You out here doing this, you out here doing that, or you said that because you felt, and it's not even true. Most of the time, it's not true, but you done blowed it out of proportion, and now your mind is just going on all kinds of negative stuff, the worst stuff that you probably could think of. You're assuming it, and all you had to do was say, "Wait a minute, hold up. What do you mean by that? What you said the other day?" Or I noticed you was looking this way when I said da da da. All we gotta do is ask some questions, but we don't want to do that. It's easier to get upset, say what we say, do what we do, and then ask for forgiveness later. But then by then it's too late. Because most of the times you done said something you can't take back. Because you was in your feelings. You was all emotional. You just didn't want to hear nothing in that moment. And that's understandable in the moment. So that means if you need to, again, walk away, or if you need to get yourself out of the situation or whatever, y'all need to separate briefly so you can calm down, do that. So you can come back and actually have a real conversation without all the extra emotions tied in. To where you can calm down, you can be level headed, think a little bit clear. So when they do explain it, you're open to it. You're not shutting it down because you're mad. You're not shutting it down because now you're offended. You don't hear nothing they got to say. But you're open to, like, okay, you know what? Let me calm down. So we can actually get a better understanding, and we'll be able to move forward in peace and not frustrated and angry. So yeah, I think that's a good. All of them were good, but this one they hit it. They really hit it. Normalize asking questions for clarification instead of moving based on the story you've created in your mind. And we do that a lot. And it's easy to do that.
Yeah. Just off something that came to my mind. Go back to a bit. Think about the being misunderstood, tone and text and things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can use this for any
Mm-hmm.
situation, whether you're having a conversation or a text or whatever. If you're feeling that way and you know you are the type of person that will go off impulse and do these things before getting clarity, I would recommend, if it's a text, write it out or type it out. Type out everything you were gonna say. I want you to read it and then delete it. Get that out of your system so that way then you can come back and then
Mm-hmm.
have that discussion. Or if y'all having a argument or a disagreement, go go take some time to yourself. If you need to write it out or whatever, get all that stuff out your system. All those words you were gonna say, the slick things you were gonna say. You were gonna talk about them, they mama, or they sister, all that stuff. Talk about they big toe or they non dressing self or whatever. Get all that stuff out your system. Or if you're writing it
Yeah.
down, write it all on a piece of paper, ball it up, throw it away. Then come back.
Mm-hmm.
That way you take the time to get
Yeah.
yourself cool down to get that energy out of you. That way come back and say, okay, about what we said earlier or what was earlier. What did you mean by that? Get yourself in a
Right.
position
Yeah.
to where you got that negative energy out to where we're not trying to meet the same energy because that might not be the energy they have. So let's get that
Mm-mm.
negative energy off of us so we can come back and listen to what they're saying. Let them tell, okay, I didn't mean it that way. The tone came off wrong or whatnot. So that way you get a better understanding. So that way you don't go off. But even that takes some
Right.
discipline too. But it's better to
Yeah.
do that. It's better to get that out your system and delete it or throw it away. That way you don't have to put something out there that you can't take back or you got to apologize for or that's going to stay on their mind because three types of people tell the truth: kids, drunks, and angry people. And so you
Mm.
can't, so don't say something how you really feeling and that situation really didn't call for it. So that's a good practice to have for both people in it. Take some time, get those negative thoughts and words out your system, come back together when cooler heads, have a discussion, and that way y'all get a better understanding of the situation. So that way next time it comes up, you don't fly off the handle. You got a better understanding. Well, they didn't really mean it like that, or okay, I'm reading this wrong,
Right.
or even just check. Let's say, hey, I'm trying to make sure you're joking, right? Yeah. Or if you're joking, make sure you add a smiley face or something afterwards so that they know, okay, you just joking, cool. I ain't taking it serious. So you have to do little things like that to help people know and help them understand that the tone of what you're having is, you know, when I'm serious, you know, when I'm just playing, just kidding, whatever. But like I said, that all comes with time spent together and time around each
Mhm.
other and studying each other and knowing uh, what they do in certain situations and the tone and their demeanor and things to where you get a better understanding of who they are and how they respond to you.
Yeah. No, all of that's good. You done wrapped it up. But yeah, no, that definitely the emotions. You gotta be able. I like the way you said write everything out that you was gonna say and then delete it or throw it away because it gives you a chance to get that frustration, like that height of your emotion allows you to get that out so you can come back down and think logically. Because when you upset, you're not thinking logic. Like you mad, you frustrated, you angry, your levels is all up and all this stuff. You just not trying to hear nothing. But if you allow yourself to kind of get that out, take a moment, however you need to do it to calm down, then you can have those conversations. I think we just have to be emotionally, well, I don't say emotionally intelligent, but I think it just depends on what it is. Be mindful of that. The way you may be feeling might not necessarily be what was intended. Like they didn't intentionally try to offend you, or they didn't intentionally try to say something to hurt you. I think sometimes we have to have that outlook, not always looking like, oh, you said what you say, you said what you said, and then now we offended. We're on the offensive now. We're ready to go out. So I think we have to kind of be, I don't say open the mindset, the perspective on being misunderstood or assumptions, to not always fly all the way over to one side or the other to be upset or whatever, but to kind of hear it and then right then, like you said, ask for the clarification. Don't run with it because we'll hear it and be like, instead of asking, we'll hear it and we'll take it in for what it sounded like, but they might not even have meant it that way. But you done already went off, like you already done yelling, fussing, whatever, and they were like, "Well, dog, I didn't even what did I say." They don't even know because what they said it wasn't that, but it could have been perceived another way. So I think we just have to keep that in mind. But all of this was good though. You definitely got to get some clarity, y'all, because it's easy to assume, it's easy to feel misunderstood. It's easy to be like, oh, they not listening to me or they don't understand me. But again, you got to take the time to ask the questions and take the time to get to know your person and understand it does take time to know, their quirks. Just them, the little things they do when they joking, playing, or they serious, when they mad, when they sad, when they don't want to be bothered. Like those are the things you gotta pay attention to, so you know how to kind of move in those different situations. But no, this was a good topic on tonight: assumptions and misunderstandings in relationships. We have to be mindful of those because they're gonna come up, y'all. They're gonna come up, but how are you going to handle it? Are you gonna allow it to fester, or are you gonna take the time to have a conversation and resolve it and move on, and not keep bringing it back up, y'all? Don't do that. Don't keep running into the same stuff. Get clarification, talk about it, and move on. Because there's gonna be other stuff that's gonna come up, so I don't need to dwell on that. Figure out ways to handle the assumptions and the misunderstandings so that you can continue to grow with each other in y'all's relationship. So thank y'all so much. What you got, Q?
Yeah, because just be honest with yourself. Some of y'all know y'all ain't all there. Y'all know y'all
Ooh.
crazy. Y'all know y'all got that in you, and that's cool and it's understanding because you whoever you with may like that kind of crazy, but let's keep that kind of crazy in check. Get some understanding first, because we already listen. You already know the person you with, so you know if they'll say something or do something if they feel that way. But in order to keep you sane, so you don't go do something crazy, get some understanding first. Take a minute, take a step back, get some understanding, and then if they meant it the way you say you meant it, then go off on them. They deserve it. So
Oh wow.
yeah, pop off. if it's warranted,
Don't.
but don't pop off on if it's not. But if they did it and you took it the right way, what they
Mm,
said, then sometimes you might have to pop off on them.
wow.
But
Well,
that's it.
we were doing so good
Oh, we do good. Oh,
until.
but hey, we're here to help you. But if they meant it,
I
hey,
mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, but
yeah,
it is what it is at that point.
okay. But thanks everybody. Before we get up out of here, while we do this, is check your levels. So what we came up with, the different levels of trust, communication, love, security, faith, intimacy, respect, understanding, support, sacrifice, appreciation, desire, service, compromise, and work. So if you're taking what we're talking about, if you see where you need to adjust, if it's not high enough, if you need to adjust your levels, adjust where you need to be, where you need to, so that way y'all become closer and you get better outcomes out of your relationship. But that's the thing we do. We're encouraging everybody to check your levels. So wherever you need to fix, whatever
Mhm.
you need to fix it. It's just as simple as
Right.
that. And so, anything else before we get up out of here?
No, that was good. How all that came about, and just I like that. Check your levels, because all those things that he mentioned are a part of relationships. Those are what people bring to the table. Those are the things that help can build up or tear down a relationship based on the lack of those things or how strong the foundation is on a lot of those words that he presented. So definitely check check your levels and know that it takes time to get them to a certain place, to get them to a certain level. So you starting out, it may be low. You may be down there, you may be down, maybe low, but as you grow and y'all grow together and learn each other and then continue to mature together, those things will go higher. Where you talked about the whole trust or communication or intimacy, there were some other words, you know what I'm saying, that he pulled up, and that he talked about, and then the work of it, like relationships take work. So let's just put that out there. But starting out, it might not be, what I mean, you're good, everything going well. It might not too many things you're facing. Then as the years go, some other things may have happened. Now you had to adjust because y'all face something different. So it's all part of growth. So when you say you're checking your levels, don't look at it as a bad thing, and don't compare possibly where you are with where somebody else may be, because it's all a process. Support is a process, sacrifice is a process, learning how to appreciate one another is a process, because everybody doesn't have it. You may be stronger in another area than you are in another area, but again, that's why it says check your levels, which means if you're open to working on them and bettering yourself and the relationship as individuals and the collective, then it's always going to be room for growth. So don't think it's like, oh, well, I'm not too good in this area, but shoot, I'm rocking it out in this area, and that's fine. But just be willing to improve in the areas that you may not be strong in. And I think that's key in any relationship. Like, you got to be willing to improve in the areas that you're weak
Mm-hmm.
in, and then y'all come together, because one of y'all may be stronger in one area than you are in the other. But again, we coming together in a relationship, so it's not just one person in this thing; it's two. But I think that's good. The checking your levels is awesome, because all of those words are needed in a relationship in general. So we'll definitely, touch on those periodically as we go through our different episodes. But yeah, y'all keep those in mind. That trust, communication, love, that's big. Security, faith, intimacy, respect, that's huge too. Understanding, support, sacrifice, appreciation, desire, service. Oh wow. Compromise and work. All of those can be improved. So don't think, well, I don't reach my max, I'm good at it. No, there's always another level that you can go to with all of those. And I think that just comes with time and growth, and just the direction of the relationship, like where you're going, what's going on in life. I think will cause some of those things to go up or down. So that's awesome. So glad y'all joined us on tonight. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support. Again, when you comment, let us know if there's anything y'all want us to talk about or discuss. We hope that you all are getting something out of the conversations that we are having. We enjoy talking with you all, so we hope it's a blessing to you all in y'all's relationship. So, Q, what you got?
Yep. So, like I said, whatever you need to fix, turn up. If you're low in the area, turn up. You get better. We're here to get better each and every day. So, like I said, what you said, just let us know how y'all like the show, what we can work on, how we can get better at, what you like, what you don't like. If you want to see us talk junk to each other, we'll do that for a little bit too. Show you how that works.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm willing. I'm willing to do that. I'll talk. I will talk junk to her on live if y'all want me to. But, but like I said, man,
Y'all don't get him beat up.
it's
Don't
about
get him
having
beat
fun,
up.
man. It's about listen.
It
There's a lot
is.
of
It
there's
is.
a lot of dope people in relationships, but we let everyday life and
Yeah.
comments from our friends and social media and stuff get in the way. And we just want to see dope relationships, dope marriages come together, raise dope children, have dope families, do
Right.
dope things.
Yes.
And there's
Right.
so much stuff out here to tear people apart, and we're just trying to keep people together. There's so much stuff to tell you, you
Mhm.
know your worth. Know your worth in a relationship. Know what you have and the worth in the person that you have. And so, like I said,
Yeah.
we're here together. And like like when we get married, the vows say that no man or no man or no woman tear it apart. And we're just not trying to make sure you're not the man or the woman tearing apart your own relationships, because there's plenty of people out here who are willing to do it for you, and you don't need to be in that number. But
Mm-mm.
once again, that's E. I'm Q. This is EQing it. Until next time, take care. Love each other,
Y'all have a
appreciate
good
each other,
night.
get better than what you were the day before, and we will talk to you next time. All right. Have a good night. Have a
Have a good
great rest of the
day.
week.
Bye.